What's up, you guys? How y'all doing? I have returned for another video. We got Foxborough Supercross later today. But fortunately, after a week off from Supercross, I ended up going to UH softball. UH versus Cal Poly, and UH split their two-game series there. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. I already took care of that. I got another video on tap that I feel like I should really discuss. And it's about the Supercross series, basically with Jett Lawrence leading the point standings. But first of all, before I get into that, guys, just remember, subscribe. That's how this channel grows. And some people have been getting unsubscribed from me. I'm not sure about it, but hey, just double check. If you think I'm worth listening to, just hit the subscribe button. If you want to see more videos from me, just hit the subscribe button. So, anyway, guys, let's get into this. I'm going to put up my banner here. If Jett Lawrence wins the Supercross title, will have more meaning than Ryan Dungey's in 2010. Now, I come through with this video because this actually makes me feel like Jett Lawrence, if he wins the title, I think he'll carry a lot more merit than Ryan Dungey when he won the Supercross title in 2010, because you hit the rewind button to the 2010 season. When Ryan Dungey won the title, he didn't have to deal with the heavy hitters. James Stewart, Chad Reed, Andrew Short, Josh Grant, and eventually Ryan Villapoto found themselves on the sidelines due to injury. Now, the first guy to go was Chad Reed. And unfortunately, it was from a hand injury in a collision with James Stewart at Phoenix. And then earlier in the night at Phoenix, after winning Anaheim 1, James Stewart would ultimately kill his season when he had that really terrifying crash with Kyle Partridge in mid-flight and almost walked on that. And I'm not going to lie to you, that incident today still makes me cringe that James Stewart almost walked on that. Not going to lie to you, okay? Because really, that may have been, some might say, oh, that's a racing incident. That's what James Stewart does. You're right. That's what James Stewart does when he was racing. Because really, if you're going to take big chances like that, of course you're going to be a hero if it works out. But if it doesn't work out, you're going to make yourself public enemy number one. Let me tell you, and I got to tell you, and I got to say, after I saw that incident, I was completely raging mad when I saw James Stewart do that. Because really, am I against aggressive riding? No, I like it. It's aggressive. But still, if you're going to pull off maneuvers like that, you better have some damn good nerves of steel that you're going to walk away unharmed. And James Stewart was not able to do that. And as it turns out, Stewart would finish 15th that night after a terrible start and then have the collision with Chad Reed. And unfortunately for Chad Reed, 2 starts, 2 19th place finishes. He had a 19th at A1 because of a blown rear wheel, and then that collision with James Stewart at Phoenix. Ryan Dungey would win the race in only a second crack on the 450. Full time anyway. But of course, it was like 3, 4, 5 times if you count when he rode the 450 in 2008 while the West Coast was on hiatus. But still, I say second time because that was Dungey's first full year on the 450. But still, regardless, Ryan Dungey winning the title in 2010 was certainly no short of a big achievement, without a doubt. And unfortunately for James Stewart, he took a third at Anaheim 2 and then dropped out for the rest of the season because of a wrist injury from that crash in the heat race at Phoenix. Okay? And then at San Diego, Andrew Short goes down with only 2 laps to go in the main event. Or actually, I take back what I said. Chad Reed wasn't the first to go. It was Josh Grant who was the first one to go because he suffered a bad practice crash just before Anaheim 1. And then after not lining up at A1, decides he's calling it a season. at least in Supercross anyway. So Chad Reed was the second to go. That was my mistake there. But still, so Josh Grant was the first to go. Then it was Chad Reed, then James Stewart, then Andrew Short, in that order. Okay? So it turns into a battle between Josh Hill, Ryan Dungey, and Ryan Villapoto. And then Josh Hill has to scratch himself from title contention when he hurt some ribs at Atlanta, and his season took multiple turns for the worst. So it turns into a two-man fight of guys with the same first name, Ryan Dungey and Ryan Villapoto. And the battle ultimately went to Dungey when Villapoto crashed out at St. Louis. And of course, y'all remember that battle, I'm sure. So, why do I say that Jett Lawrence winning the title this year would hold more merit than Ryan Dungey? Because all the competition's there. Because when Ryan Dungey won the title in 2008, everyone was on the sidelines, like I said earlier. Stewart, Reed, Short, Grant, and eventually Ryan Villapoto. And the only one of those five to come back from injury was Chad Reed. And even then, Chad Reed wasn't riding up to what he felt was his full potential. And I got to tell you, that was probably one of the worst years that I could remember of my tenure following the sport, with Chad Reed doing as crappy as he was. But of course, Chad Reed, he signed with Kawasaki. He got a late start in the season, and you just can't do that in this day and age anymore. And if you pull it off, my hat's off to you. Now, as for Jett Lawrence this year, he's won 5 races. And Ryan Dungey won 5 or 6 events himself and eventually found himself the champion when Villapoto crashed out at St. Louis. And Jett Lawrence had kind of evaded a lot of trouble until the last race in St. Louis when Justin Barcia gave him that T-bone, which by far was a racing incident in my view. I do not hold Justin Barcia responsible, like I was saying earlier. But still, I still think that Jett Lawrence is okay. He was the top qualifier today, and we'll see what happens in the race today. Do I have Jett Lawrence picked as the winner? No. I probably would still have him picked for a top 3, though. I probably would have him for second or third, but still. If my gut's telling me that Jett Lawrence is going to hold on for this title, and if he does that, I think that this championship will be a lot more meaningful for him than maybe Ryan Dungey's was. Because when, like I said earlier, when Dungey won the title, he didn't have to deal with the competition. Jett Lawrence has to deal with the competition. Because Cooper Webb's still out there, Eli Tomac's still out there, Chase Sexton's out there, Jason Anderson. That's a lot of heavy hitters there. And the only guy to rise up to the occasion the most has been Jett Lawrence himself. And of course, with Eli Tomac not really riding up to his potential until he won the last race in the Triple Crown format in St. Louis, I was starting to believe that Jett Lawrence was going to be the titleist. And I still think he will. I just think that if Jett can avoid any more adversity, he's going to be your champion. I could already see it coming when he swept the motocross season. I could already see that happening after Chase Sexton had to miss some races because of mononucleosis. And that's a real bummer. But still, I've yet to see Eli Tomac really show that outstanding race, other than Dallas maybe, where Jett Lawrence is at his finest and Tomac is able to run him down. So I don't think Tomac has proven beast mode is back, but he had to do it in back-to-back weeks for me to be convinced. And he didn't do that. Okay? So we'll see what happens. If Jett Lawrence will win this title, I do think that that'll be in a lot more than Ryan Dungey's in 2010. Because, really, Jett Lawrence has had to deal with a lot more competition than Ryan Dungey did. So why don't you sit on that? So why don't you guys sit on that for a few moments and maybe kind of think about that? Because if you think that this is a valid point, more power to you. If you think otherwise, yeah, whatever. This is just my take, okay? So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And remember, subscribe, and I'll see you off for that recap of the Foxborough Supercross.